Welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And we first started covering the Western States Pact, honestly, kind of as a little joke. It was a novelty. It was really funny. But it's heating up. And the Western states are actually now issuing letters, kind of demand letters from the Congress and from the government of the United States of America on official Western States Pact letterhead. And this is actually a thing now. The Western States Pact is officially a thing because you're not real friends until you're Facebook friends. And you're not a real governmental pact until you're actually officially sending out Western States Pact letterhead. Cody, tell us what's going on.
Okay, yeah. So, for a little bit of background, I guess, we're going back to roughly a month, really. April 13th, this was officially started. So, California, Oregon, and Washington announced the forming of the Western States Pact. Since this, about 2 weeks ago, we also saw Nevada and Colorado join to make it 5 total states. Essentially what this was, it was going to be these states, 3 but not 5 total states, working together on a few things. Mainly, this was my favorite little quote here from the beginning. They said that our residents' health comes first, a home to 1 in 6 Americans and gateway to the rest of the world. The West Coast has an outsized stake in controlling and ultimately defeating. Interesting, just our health comes first. Anyway, ideas being, you'll notice, health of the residents, health outcomes, basically coordinating together to make sure that we don't. For people who are unfamiliar, there's a lot of different interstates across the country, and the West Coast in particular, the 3 states that formed it are specifically, there's Interstate 5, which I think runs the length.
Yeah.
It's basically like Mexico to Canada, up the West Coast. Not literally, but functionally. So, point being, it doesn't make any sense for like the state in the middle to close down if people can just take the interstate right through their state from both states. So,
yeah.
Going on, they also mentioned working together. One of the big things they mentioned as well in later later interviews was the notion of being able to come together when they make medical purchases, basically just make bigger orders.
An economy of scale, exactly.
Yeah, so they can get better deals. What this also looked like a little bit functionally is we saw when Nevada joined the Western States Pact a few weeks ago, Nevada actually probably now more than ever very interested in sports, professional sports, how they're going to get off the ground with this brand new football stadium opening, as well as their hockey team entering their 3rd or 4th full season. Definitely something to keep interested. The governor of Nevada actually said that the governor's office is in frequent communication with the other states in the Western States Pact to discuss the best practices and share ideas as it relates to COVID-19. These conversations help inform actions Nevada may take in its state-specific reopening plan, which is really interesting. I wonder a lot, too, when they say that, if it's... I wonder if them joining the Western States Pact, part of it was to get more clarity on the best way to open the stadiums, or if they join the Western States Pact for the next thing we're going to get into, and as a concession, Governor Newsom gets to tell Nevada when their football team can have fans again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's what's happening here, but it almost
Which one
seems
was first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, well, just is it kind of sometimes people will frame things like that. Well, congratulations, look what we're letting you do now, and it's like, oh, I feel like now you're telling me I can only do this. You know what I mean? Like, hey, good news, we're talking with the other states about opening our sports teams. Like, why do you have to talk to Oregon about when you can play football in Las Vegas? Why? Well, we'll get into that, right? So, as you were alluding to earlier, what we saw yesterday then was Gavin Newsom announced that the Western States Pact are going to be formally petitioning the federal government for $1 trillion in relief. Now, the wording of it's interesting. We'll go through a little bit of the CNN article, and then we'll actually get into the letter itself.
The devil's in the details on this. Let's jump into the details.
But it's interesting how it was framed. So, the CNN mentions the members of the Western States Pact, including California, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, and Nevada, are asking the federal government for $1 trillion in aid to help deal with the financial effects of the coronavirus pandemic. A letter signed by all 5 states' governors, all Democrats, was sent to Congress on Monday. California Governor Gavin Newsom announced in his daily coronavirus briefing. It's also interesting to note they mentioned that everyone who signed this was Democrats. We'll get into it in a second why that's interesting.
Okay.
So in the letter, the governors thanked Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy for the quick financial assistance they have already provided. But now, however, our states will be forced to make deep cuts to programs that help those same individuals without similar efforts for state and local governments, they wrote. Gavin Newsom, I'm assuming. I think his name's at the top. Anyway. They go on to mention some more stuff. And we'll go into the actual letter in a minute here. I just wanted to mention that one other thing is that they reference in CNN the brewing fight on Capitol Hill because Nancy Pelosi's floating a number between $750 billion and $1 trillion for federal relief.
It's a lot.
But the thing is, that's for federal.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be for 5 states, right?
Yeah.
The other 45. But here's the interesting thing, and I, you know what? I'll admit I got a little bit of the potato reading comprehension. I might be misreading some of this stuff, but I read through this entire letter multiple times. Also, can we get a graphic designer to come up with something better for what? I mean, I'm on the official gov.ca WordPress website right now, and it just bold block text, all caps. That's all we get for the Western States Pact. No little. We don't even get like all like the state seals or anything. We just anyway.
Yeah, I was about to say, what's the seal gonna be?
Is there anything better than nothing?
Like it does kind of look like somebody just took the impact font on Adobe, PDF like logo creator or something. But yeah, there does need to be like a sick seal. I envision like, a bunch of hands together, like something intense. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'll get back to you on that one, Cody.
Hey, even just have all 5 state seals just across the top. Who cares?
Yeah, it's true.
But we get through this. As far as I can see, there's never any point in this letter when they formally petition for these 5 states to receive the $1 trillion. Now, we'll go through the whole letter. They say it's now clear that COVID will be with us for the foreseeable future, and the worst of its economic impact is yet to come. Many mentions to our states are on the front line against the virus, while at the same time leading our state's recovery. I don't know what that sentence means. Unless our states is in reference to like our United States, like it doesn't. I don't know. We'll
it's very poorly worded because you don't know if they're actually advocating on their behalf, which you would assume because it's under the letterhead of the Western States Pact. But they are using "our" in a way that could actually mean the entire country. They're not delineating this very well, so you actually don't know if it's advocacy for a massive relief on behalf of the entire country, and they're just advocating for this relief as a Western States Pact, or if it's actually a relief package uniquely meant for the Western States Pact on top of any other kind of relief that's given out federally. Does that make sense? At least that's what I've noticed as a problem in the wording of this whole document.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call it a problem. I'd call it smart. We'll get into in a minute why it's probably smart to word it this way.
Okay.
Because like you said, you'd be led to believe that's what most people are framing it as. But we'll get to the specifics. Right? There is a point in the letter when they actually make their request, and they say that is why we are respectfully and urgently requesting $1 trillion in direct and flexible relief to state and local governments. They go on to mention that red and blue states alike are faced with the same COVID-19 math as the Democrats and Republican mayors across our states. I guess mayors, close. But you know what I mean? Like these are all Democrat governors, all Democrat states. It's worded in a way that kind of sounds like for everyone. All of the link to the letter, you guys can read it again. I've read this thing 5 times trying to find when they say this would be for California, Oregon, this is for these 5 states and nobody else. They just say they're requesting it for state and local governments. Even though this amount will not replace the decline in revenue we forecast, it will make a meaningful difference. This aid would preserve core government services like public health, public safety, public education, and help people get back to work. It would help our states and cities come out of this crisis stronger and more resilient. Again, coming from the Western States Pact, when they keep saying R, I guess you would, right? You would think that's what they mean. Yeah. But there's no point in here where they directly
administer the money. Who's going to administer the money? Like basically will it be given to California and then California disseminates it out to the rest of its buddies? Or
whose name is the first signature on this letter?
Well, I mean,
who announced that this letter was sent to Congress in their address?
Yeah, obviously Gavin Newsom and obviously California because we all know who the big boy in the pool is.
Gavin Newsom probably would be the one. But
so is this just a cynical ploy to be using the other smaller states surrounding California to get more money so he can secretly hoard even more of it for California? Is he that cynical of a player, Cody?
I don't think there's anything. I honestly don't know I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what the psychology of Gavin Newsom is. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because when I first saw this letter, I have been waiting since I heard the Western States Pact form for news. The only real news updates I've found since 2 more states joined, and then we saw the Nevada governor hint at potentially coordinating with other states when they reopen their sporting events. This was one of the first real official acts. I mean, they don't even really have a logo, right? But I thought it was interesting the more I read into it, the fact that there really isn't there. It's hinted at they mean them, but there's never any point where they say, hey, look, these 5 states, California, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, need $1 trillion. I never say that. They greatly hint it. They say, hey, our states are really hurting, but hey, states and counties could really use the money. What does that mean? And the reason why I wanted to say that, because again, the number, $1 trillion. This was posted today in the Wall Street Journal, and this is the Democrats are talking about their next stimulus bill they want to get through. We'll get through the House, right, and we'll see if we get through the Senate. What's interesting about this is the numbers that are being floated around here is the central pillar of the House Democrats legislation is more than $750 billion for states and local governments to use for pandemic-related costs and lost tax revenue, which is basically in that letter what they were referring to. The fact that we're going to lose tax revenue, we're going to have people that are unemployed, we have services that are being used to help these people, but they're going to be like functionally sounds to me like lost revenue and pandemic-related costs. However, the House is floating around $750 billion for everyone, for the nation, not for 5 states under the lead of Gavin Newsom and then whoever else wants to pretend to make decisions, right? Like, I could see why it would be unwise to write a letter more strongly saying California, the Western States Pact needs $1 trillion. Because if on Monday the Western States Pact says they need $1 trillion, and on Tuesday the House says we're planning on giving $750 to everybody in the country, not just you guys more than that, it couldn't, rightfully so, they would come across as greedy and a little bit out of touch, right? Like, that's $1 trillion. Like, dude, there's been $3 trillion approved, and they haven't even spent any of it. That's actually one of the big key hangups right now is that fact right there that it says the Trump administration and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell have paused negotiations, saying they want to first see the roughly $3 trillion in relief that was already approved dispersed. Mr. McConnell said he was having regular conversation with the White House and whatever, but we're seeing a problem here, but we're seeing that we have $3 trillion already that hasn't been spent yet. It's been approved, that hasn't been out yet. So there is issues. My only point is we're seeing issues with the federal government getting this money out anyway. And then when you factor on top of that, if California, New York, not New York, but to see a couple of states on the West Coast come in and say, hey, I know we haven't even got that first $3 trillion we approved out the door yet, but you need to give $1 trillion to us, would definitely, I would definitely pump the brakes, Gavin. That's looking pretty bad. But I think because of that, you get this kind of strangely worded letter with a lot of innuendo, a lot of insinuation that, hey, our states are hurting. Hey, we deeply appreciate the quick assistance, but however, our states will be forced to make deep cuts to programs that help those same individuals without similar relief efforts for state and local. But again, they just keep saying state and local governments, state and local governments. State and local governments can mean anything, man. Especially, these are all Democrat states, Democrat governors. But again, I feel like when they start mentioning red and blue states alike are forced with the red and blue states alike, but there's only blue states in this pact. So you're talking about just the country as a whole then? I don't know. It is. And then at the same time, a little bit weird and presumptuous for Gavin Newsom. And again, I say Gavin Newsom just because California is the biggest state, but also worth noting, you have Jay Inslee, who also ran for president, and a couple other, people running larger states. But still, it's a little bit interesting to see these 5 states. Are they taking the lead and petitioning the federal government for money on behalf of everyone?
So
is Colorado speaking for Kentucky right now? Like what is actually going on in this? Which is interesting to me.
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to post a link to this to this letter so that everybody can read it and then make their own opinion. My only question for you before we end this, Cody, is do you think this is birthing our pact going to be a thing now? We talked about it and we toyed with it as fun, way to tickle a noodle and everything like that before. But do you actually think that because California has done this with the other states that it'll now set a precedent and we will notice pacts in the future? Do you think others are going to form behind California, or it's just going to be this one-off thing?
1,000% depends on the success of it. And I do want to mention this. This is a tweet from Gavin Newsom yesterday. Because again, I'm not even saying that I'm not even saying the Western States Pact isn't asking for $1 trillion for itself. They may be. I'm just saying the way the letter was worded, they never specifically said that. And then Gavin Newsom also had this tweet that he said yesterday. I want to make sure we included, where he said that today, California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Colorado, and our legislative leaders have joined together to ask the federal government for $1 trillion to protect our schools, public health, and public safety services. It does definitely seem like there's a big nudge, give it to us.
Yeah. But
and it just in the wordings, and again, it's kind of what people that are smart in politics and know what they're doing do. They're not going to write a letter. Because here's the thing, 7-8 months from now, all this blows up. You can just kind of say, hey, look, we sent a letter just saying that the government should give states and local governments, whatever that means, more money, whatever. You just don't want to be on record, on paper, in a letter signed by you going to Congress saying, give me $1 trillion. I could definitely see that even for the governor of California, that's a big ask, man. To just write your name on a document, give me $1 trillion. When, by the way, $750 billion for everybody is what's on the table, and you say no, $1 trillion for me. That's kind of crazy, but it's worth watching because I do want to make sure before I end, I want to reference. There was a Midwestern States Pact that was formed, about 5 or 6 states in the Midwest, kind of in the peninsula area.
Then we had Florida was going to team up with a couple of others on the East Coast.
I don't think they really did, but there was a Northeastern States Pact, including states like New York and Massachusetts and stuff. So interesting developments. Of course, California states, because Gavin Newsom was also the guy calling California a nation state for a few weeks. Stopped for a while he was. So before that, well, we've seen some interesting stuff happen. Yeah.
So anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. If any of you guys have any insider information, please let us know. Follow us on Twitter at PSP Radio 1. Tell us if you guys are in a state that's considering forming its own pact as well. If any of these Midwestern states have decided to join, because we did a video on that in which Kentucky was joining some of the others. And that was kind of an interesting alliance based upon cultural history of the states. So anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video.